Hello, this is Dean Malone with Comps of X. Hope you're doing well today and again some good trades. In a previous video I talked about how to actively trade a daily range pattern. And basically what we're looking to do is to look at the daily range, identify the resistance levels, identify the support levels, then we're going to move down into our intraday charts, look for chart patterns from an intraday perspective, and then we will treat the daily range high or the daily range low as the larger resistance or support levels, and we can also treat them as potential targets depending upon the intraday chart pattern that we're trading. So what I want to do is to review the pound dollar and where we've gone from what I talked about in the video, and also take a look at the Aussie dollar and see what we've done based upon the video I did previously. Also, we'll take a quick look at the dollar CAD, applying what I talked about in the previous video about trading actively the daily range pattern. So if we take a look at the pound dollar right here, one thing I need to make note is the pound dollar seems to be wanting to put in a floor. You can see these multiple lows across here for a number of months. Market can't seem to break any lower. However, if the market does come down and break this low point here, there's a potential for the market to run down to about 53.35 area, and then potentially all the way down to about the 52.60 area and get back down to this low point here. What I do see in the daily chart is a double bottom pattern, and typically in a double bottom pattern we're looking for a push to the upside. However, the longer we continue to bounce along the bottom, the lower the probability is for a double bottom and a bias back up. So if we just stay like what we're doing here, there's a good chance that we see the market go back down and test the previous low, potentially all the way down to 52.60. Now, since we're inside our daily range here, and it appears that the market's getting tighter here with lower highs and higher lows identified by the trend lines, what I mentioned to do is to make note of those trend line levels, then go down into your intraday charts. So I'll go down the 4-hour chart. What I typically do is I find the midpoint between the daily range high and the daily range low. I find a midpoint, or I look for where price has been range bound, and these pink areas identify where the market's been pretty well range bound. And what I mentioned to folks is as we've come off the bottom here, look for the market to push back up towards the midpoint or towards the range low. If I step in and take a look at what's taken place since we last did the video, you can see that overnight there was a potential double top right here from yesterday. However, the market just grinded higher and came right up along this range low and is just sitting there. And we see the Traders Dynamic Index climbing a bit higher, and the volatility band is getting fairly tight. I do expect a break of this, and what my consideration is for a potential rollback down. If the market does push back up due to some economic event, well, I would look for it to break the range high and possibly enter in on a true break of the range high back up towards the trend line here. If you extend the trend line on out, we're looking for a potential move from 55.35 area up to right around 56 to 56.20 area. Now taking a look at the Aussie dollar on a daily perspective, it too was having lower highs and higher lows, more or less a symmetrical triangle pattern here. I made note that this level right here was almost a little bit higher than midpoint, but almost a high point, because when we go into our intraday chart down the 4-hour, you can see that we had a previous range here. So I took the range low and I took the range high. And what we saw was the market pushed down into the range low area and has come back up off of it. From the video previously, it came back down, the market came back down and tested the range high as new support. Look what the market's done. The market pushed all the way up to that daily trend resistance level, and we'd use that as a target trading to the upside. Now, that being resistance, we're looking for the market to roll over. Market attempted to break this level, getting up to about 103.50 in the Aussie dollar today, and has since rolled over back towards 10300 level. So the thought is we either fall back down, test this range high again that we had back here, or we make a true break of the daily trend line and we start climbing higher. Now let's take a look at the dollar CAD. It has a similar pattern to the Aussie dollar with lower highs and higher lows into a symmetrical triangle pattern, the midpoint of which is right about the 102 level. So what I do is I step in to an intraday chart, go to the 4-hour chart to begin with, and I start looking for potential ranges. What's the market been at up and down oscillating before making a move one way or the other? And you can see over here there's a pretty good range right around here that the market was in. The market repeated this range right in this area. You can see that? Now the market did come down through the range, bounced up a little bit back towards the 200 level, and now setting in a low. It's pushed a little bit lower than the range here. So what I'm looking for is, and that's a pretty good move to the downside here, do we have continual movement down, or do we come back up, test this range that we have here, or do we push further down? Now what I would recommend you do if you're following this is make levels of your ranges here. It's about the range high, range low, just about in this area. We do see this pushing down here and matching previous lows over here. It could come all the way down here and hit this level. Thought would be that if the Aussie dollar rolls back over, if it rolls back over this way, we're going to see the dollar CAD roll back up. If it rolls back up, look for it to come back in this area here. If the Aussie dollar continues making its move up, there's the potential of seeing the CAD push on down, and I already have identified a potential target, which would be that trend line. Now obviously there's other targets to consider. I'll make one more move down to the 1-hour chart, and you can see intraday what it's done. It's made a nice move down, and notice how it came down to the top of the range, bounced off of it, came to the middle part of this range, bounced around it, came down to the bottom of the range I made back here, bounced around, and now pushing or attempting to push a little bit lower. So again folks, when you're looking at a sideways daily range and you're trying to figure out what to do, then from an active trader's perspective, what you can do is go to your intraday charts, look at certain chart patterns, double tops, double bottoms, or bounces off of the daily range high or bounces off the daily range low. Find your midpoint, find a previous range, and trade off of those. Well folks, this is D Malone with Compass FX. Hope some of the information I've shared with you in this video will help you in your trading. Y'all get a great day, get some good trades. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.